Ted Wada was born on February 17, 1919 in Redlands, California. Like many Japanese-American children of that era, he grew up balancing two worlds, the traditions of his immigrant parents and the promise of life in America. But history had other plans. Within a few short years, Ted Wada would serve in one of the most decorated units in American military history, the 442nd Regimental Combat Team, fighting in Europe during World War II. Later, he would fight again, this time in Korea. His story is one of loyalty, hardship, and quiet resilience. Childhood in Redlands. Ted grew up in a large family, 5 boys and 4 girls. His parents, Tamakichi and Akio Wada, were immigrants from Japan. They ran a small pool hall and barbershop when the family first settled in Redlands. Life was modest. His father raised vegetables in the backyard, and the children played simple games, flying homemade kites and building skateboards from scrap wood and roller skates. But even in childhood, Ted saw the realities of discrimination. The public swimming pool in town allowed minorities to swim only on Mondays, after the water had been used by everyone else. Still, life carried on. The Wadas celebrated American holidays like Christmas and Thanksgiving while keeping Japanese traditions like Oshogatsu, the New Year's celebration. In those early years, Ted remembered something important: family, a nation at war. In 1941, Ted made a decision that would change his life. He volunteered for the U.S. Army. At the time, he believed it would only be for 1 year. But on December 7th, everything changed. Pearl Harbor. Suddenly, Japanese Americans, even those serving in the military, faced suspicion and fear. Ted and other Japanese American soldiers were removed from their original units and transferred away from the West Coast. Meanwhile, their families were forced into internment camps. Ted's family was sent to Poston, Arizona. He would not see his father again. The 442nd Regimental Combat Team. Eventually, Ted joined the 442nd Regimental Combat Team, an all-Japanese-American combat unit formed from volunteers and soldiers like Ted who were already in the service. The 442nd would become legendary. Fighting in Italy and France, they earned a reputation for courage and determination. Ted joined the regiment shortly before one of its most famous operations, the rescue of the Lost Battalion in the Vosges Mountains of France. The fighting was brutal. At one point, Ted's company went into battle with roughly 200 soldiers. Only 18 came out uninjured. Ted himself was wounded twice, once in the leg and once in the arm and hand. Still, the regiment pushed forward, and the Lost Battalion was rescued. After World War II, when World War II ended, Ted returned home briefly. But peace did not last long. Restless and looking for purpose, he re-enlisted. This time he joined the paratroopers. Ted trained at Fort Benning, Georgia, earning his jump wings. Soon he would deploy again, this time to Japan. The Korean War. Ted served with the 11th Airborne Division in Japan before being assigned to military intelligence. Then in 1950, war erupted again. North Korea invaded the South. Ted deployed with the 7th Infantry Division. His unit advanced all the way to the northern border near China. But the war suddenly shifted. Chinese forces entered the conflict and pushed United Nations troops south. Ted's unit was forced to retreat and evacuate by ship. The Korean War was very different from Europe. In World War II, captured soldiers were usually treated according to the Geneva Convention. In Korea, many feared capture by North Korean or Chinese forces. For Ted and many others, that fear was constant. Life after war. Ted was discharged from the military in 1953. He returned to California. Unlike many veterans, he lived a quiet life. He never married. Instead, he cared for his mother and spent decades working various jobs. Eventually, Ted settled in Gardena, California. He spent his days gardening, walking through the neighborhood, and occasionally meeting other veterans. Like many from his generation, he rarely spoke about his wartime experiences. But the memories stayed with him. Reflection. Ted Wada fought in 2 wars, World War II and Korea. He witnessed prejudice, battlefield loss, and the uncertainty of combat. Yet he rarely called himself a hero. Like many Nisei veterans, he believed he was simply doing his duty. For Ted, the lessons of his life were simple. Prejudice had not disappeared, and history could repeat itself. But courage, quiet courage, could endure. Ted Wada's story is not just one soldier's story. It is the story of a generation, Japanese Americans who fought for a country that had doubted them and proved their loyalty on battlefields across the world. Their legacy lives on.